Good morning. Nice to see all of you this morning. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I am Debbie Gonzalez. I am the Vice President of Operations, and I support the Terraces at Los Gatos community. We're here today. I'm going to introduce you to your new ED, but first I wanted to share with you the process we went through to find someone. It was a collaborative effort between the community and those of us within Human Good for a search for an ED. We are grateful to the Resident Association executive team and the Community Advisory Board for participating and giving their input in this process. Through this process, I think we found the right person for the position of Executive Director for the Terraces at Los Altos, and that is Peter Morris. Peter will be giving you a brief overview of his experience and his history, and then we'll open it up for questions, and you can engage Peter in a question and answer session. So without further ado, Peter, please take it over.
Thank you. Everyone can hear me?
I can't hear you very well. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem. Yeah, everybody's shaking their head. They can't hear you. So can you check your mic and put it on camera mic? That usually works best.
Let me check this.
You're good now. You're good right there.
Right now, good?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for your help. Debbie, thank you for the nice introduction. Again, first of all, I'm thrilled to have been selected to be part of your community and part of your home, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know everyone. I have been working within senior living for over 30 years. The majority of my time has been spent in life plan communities like Los Gatos. So I'll talk a little bit about my experience and then a little bit about my family and then answer your questions. Sound good? Okay. I come from a hospitality background. My uncles and grandfather owned restaurants, so I've always been in the restaurant business, about hospitality. I, with the help of my family, started my own restaurant, helped design and build my own restaurant when I was 27, which I say a lot of help from my family. After a few years of being in business, I wanted to have a family. Having a restaurant was not conducive, so I took a job as a food and beverage director at Essex Meadows in Essex, Connecticut, which is a CCRC or a life plan community in Essex, Connecticut. That was owned at the time by Life Care Services, which is a company out of Des Moines, Iowa. So I worked there for a while. I was promoted to do consulting for Life Care Services. And for the remainder of the 90s, my job was to help design and open new communities. And I did a lot of that work. In the 2000s, I did a lot of work for helping to implement resident-centered care, work on resident satisfaction, and then also do a lot of work in retaining and attracting and maintaining a positive workforce. One of the things that we found 10, 15 years ago, that there was a direct correlation between long-term staff and happy residents. And it's so very important to have long-term staff that get to know you and provide the services that you want. So that's one of my mantras, is to make sure that we have a positive working environment and a positive living environment. Those are the two things which are most important. If we put those two things together, we have a successful and happy community. In the later part of the early 2000s, I got my administrator's license and became an executive director, and I did that work with Life Care Services. In 2012, myself and some others went off on our own and had a company called Excelsis Consulting. My partners did more short-term consulting. I did more long-term consulting, which we called transitional management, where I was asked to come into communities and help them for 6 months to a year, put in systems to improve resident satisfaction, services, maintain and retain employees, and that type of thing. I've done work all over the country. I've done work in California at Casa de las Campanas, communities in the Bay Area, and such. I was a vice president of residential services for a not-for-profit called Massonicare in Connecticut, where I ran their largest community, about 600 residents, and oversaw a couple other communities. What drew me to Human Good is the desire to work for a not-for-profit organization that puts residents and staff before profits. Unfortunately, the for-profit industry is becoming very much driven solely by building their NOI, and I didn't feel that was a good match for me. So what led me to Human Good, again, was you have a great reputation for, again, treating residents right and treating staff right. So when I was chosen to be the executive director, I can't tell you how thrilled I am. Right now, my family lives in Connecticut. I have my wife, Christina. My son, Jerry, is a freshman at Ithaca College. He just took the car and left today in the ice to drive to Ithaca. And my daughter, Claire, will be a senior in high school. We are looking forward to relocating to the Bay Area. Selfishly, I'm a sailor, and you can only sail in Connecticut about a couple months a year. So we're looking forward to coming out here and enjoying your Northern California or mid-California weather and lifestyle. So I hope that wasn't too long, and I'm more than happy to answer questions. I believe in what I call extreme transparency. If you ask me a question, no matter what it is, I will answer it, and I will always be extremely transparent with you. So with that, nice to see you. How do we do this, Deb?
Yeah, so does anybody have a question? I know Kendall's on here, and Kendall can unmute you if you have a question.
If anyone has a question, you can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, this is Linda Sampson. I have one question that maybe people may be asking themselves is, you've been working in the industry for 30 plus years. How long do you plan to stay here? We are in need of a very stable environment, and we desperately need an ED who's going to stay the course with us and not take off in a couple of years and leave us in the same state we are now.
My goal is to retire here. I want to work another 8 to 12 years, and I've told Debbie I don't want to be promoted. I'm not looking to be promoted. I've spent years going all over the country, flying sometimes 25,000 miles a month, and overseeing communities. I am very much interested in having a community. I enjoy the interaction between residents and staff. That's really my joy and my happiness. So if you'll have me, I plan to be here a good 10 years. So that's my goal. I do not want to move. I don't want to be promoted. I don't want to go anywhere else. I did that when I had to care for my family. Now that they're getting older, I have a little bit more flexibility in my life. Hope that answers your question, Linda.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
When do you hope to move to Los Gatos yourself?
I'm moving immediately. Well, I'm living here now. I'm going to be looking for a short-term rent, and hopefully have my family move out this summer. I want to get my daughter finished with her year of school, and then I think we're probably going to rent a house while we look to purchase a house. While California is expensive, Connecticut's pretty expensive too, so, we own a nice home. I owned it for a long time, and, it's probably gonna be, to get the same home here is gonna be a little bit more money, but, you know, with my daughter going off to college in a year, we're not looking for the same size house that we currently have, let's put it that way, so
Oh, very good.
we're looking to downsize.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
club.
So there's been some questions that have come up in the chat and I've been answering them, but people wanted to know, or residents wanted to know, if Peter is here now. He is in the Bay Area. He currently is at the terraces at Los Altos, and he's doing some training today with Preet, the ED there, but he will be in the community on Monday. And then residents are asking, will he mingle among the residents? Yes. So Peter and I have discussed this. One of his first 30-day goals is to really get to know the residents and the team members within the community and engage with them. So he will be out and about, so you can engage with him. But I also know he's probably more than welcome if you come and meet with him in the office. The plan is Monday, he and I will arrive at the community, get him settled in. Greg will be working with him for the first 2 weeks. So I'll be popping in and out and working with Peter, but also Greg will be there to support him and kind of transition and share some of the calendar and how things are done specifically at TLG. And so I hope that answers your questions, but please feel free to continue in the chat or to ask Peter a further question.
Follow up with what Debbie just said. I'm a huge believer, the office has its place, but for the majority of my day, it will be out and about talking to the residents and staff. I believe the only way to engage residents and staff is to get to know them, and especially, you know, TLG is a good sized community. I've managed larger communities than that, and the only way you get to do that is to know the residents and see them all the time. So I average 6 to 8 miles a day walking within a community, so I don't have to do exercise afterwards. So that's a good thing. So you will see a lot of me all the time. One of the things that I will do, and I've done at all communities, is put my personal cell phone on my business card. So whenever you need me, if you want to meet with me, you're going to be able to meet with me immediately. As long as I'm not with another resident or engaged, you need to meet with me, I will come see you. You can meet in my office, we can meet in your home, whatever you want, but I can assure you, you will see a lot of me all the time. So to the point, you'll probably say, can you go in the office and leave us alone? Oh, trust me, that'll happen.
Okay, good deal. Well, that's it.
No other questions? Come on. Is that Laura who wants a question? Oh. Can you unmute?
What kind of restaurant did you own?
Well, I can see you're Greek, aren't you?
Yes.
So my family is Greek. My actual name is, instead of Peter Morris, my grandfather's name was Panayotis Moutsouris. So my grandfather, when he came over, owned candy shops that made ribbon candy. And then my uncles owned steak and seafood restaurants and chop houses and that type of thing. So so anyway, yeah, I come from a Greek American family.
Yasu, Peter. Panayoti.
Laura, go
We'll
ahead.
speak. You know what? You know what? The funny. I just have to say this. When we were kids, my mother and all my relatives, we were taught Greek words, command words, like, you know, and cleaning words, but we were never taught. We were supposed to be very Americanized. So my parents and my relatives would speak in English, and then you would listen in, and then like the 2 key words would go to Greek and then back to English. So I'd love to spend time learning more Greek with you. Laura has a question.
Yeah, when you are a lot of us aren't necessarily out in the corridors all day. So with activities still restricted, would you be attending a lot of activities, or would you consider meeting with a corridor or two, maybe each week to sort of get to know the people on different areas? I was just kind of curious how you do get to know everybody in the community.
Depending on the community and the rhythms of it, sometimes what I used to do is have bi-weekly all resident meetings, but depending on the, your COVID situations, your protocols. But normally I would have what was called a town hall meeting, especially in a newer community, twice a month, depending on the size of, I know you have a decent size auditorium. And basically just have a Q&A, where, especially what's happening now is, I've worked in a lot of communities where you've had a lot of construction. I'm very used to, dealing with that. But what's most important when you're having construction is to detail and let the residents know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, so nothing's a surprise. So I know you're having major construction, so that's part of the reason to have the town hall meetings, is to talk about what's going to happen on certain days, and then also answer your questions about anything. So whether it's in small groups or larger groups, that's my plan. Did I
Thank
answer
you.
your question, Laura?
Thank you.
Tom? Oh, you're on mute, Tom.
There we go. I have to apologize. I was down at the GRA at 10 o'clock, not knowing that the in-person or the streaming there was canceled. So I missed all of your introduction. When I arrived onto Zoom, you were saying I'm ready for questions. And so if you wouldn't mind repeating one or two items, I assume you come from a long background in the industry and you're moving here from Connecticut, and you have a daughter that must be a senior in high school. But anything else that I missed that I would be interested in hearing?
I'll give you the shorter version. I've been working in life plan communities, or CCRCs, like Los Gatos, Terraces Los Gatos, for 32 years. I started in the hospitality industry, and then, got into operations. My big thing again is create a positive living environment, create a positive working environment, and, make sure in what we call get to yes for the residents, get to yes for the workers. I think it's very important to be very transparent. So any question you'll ask me, I will tell you the exact answer, why I'm doing something, with my workers in the same way, my partners. And, I'm, like I said, I'm thrilled to be part of Human Good, because, I've been in the industry a long time. Not-for-profits are going away. And to work for such a good organization is very important to me. I plan to be here long term. I'm hoping this is the last job I'll ever have. I want to work another 10 to 12 years. And my son is a freshman in college, and my wife sent me a picture of the icy driveway as he drove off, because we're letting him take a car to his to school this semester, which I'm against, but I succumbed to her desire. And and then my daughter Claire, who has one more year left of school. But my son never wanted to move, where my daughter's like, she can walk into any room and make a friend in like 2 minutes. So she's definitely takes after her mother. She's a very happy young lady. So I hope they answered your question.
That's very nice, and I apologize to the other people on the Zoom to request a repeat, but I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have a question?
Yes.
Is that Flo? You don't look like Flo.
Oh, this is not Flo. She doesn't have a deep voice like this anyway. Uh, I'd be interested to know, I'm a member of our community emergency response team here at the Terraces, and I'd be interested to know what kind of experiences you have had in emergency situations, and are you familiar with that kind of an organization, a community emergency response team? Thank you.
Fortunately, living in the coast of Connecticut, we have a lot of, especially in the past 10, 15 years, more hurricanes. So I was an ED associate ED at a community in in Mystic, Connecticut. If you know, it's right on the water. And we were hit with over a 1 year period, 2 storms, Sandy, and then another storm, and lost power for 8 days each, 9 days. So we had generator power, but definitely running everything. Independent living did not have a lot of electricity and things like that. So I'm used to dealing with 2 things: hurricanes and blizzards, both of which I don't think you have a lot here. So I'm used to that. I'm sure you have more detailed plans for earthquakes and other type of events that I can use my past experience to make sure that we're ready for those events. And also, I was in San Rafael, was it 2019? All the wildfires that you had up in the area. And so I was at a community called Aldersley, and we had to make adjustments because of that. So did I answer your question, sir?
Well, thank you. It's assuring.
Say hi to Flo. I can see her in the background. Where's
Hi,
Flo?
Peter.
Flo, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
I got the job. Do you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. Welcome. It's great.
I look forward to
Glad you're
working
here.
with you on the board.
Great. I'm glad you're here.
Oh, me too. So.
My name is Pat Smith. We have about 12 committees here that are concerning all sorts of things that people are interested in. And I understand that's a large number of committees, resident committees. I wonder what your experience is and your thoughts about working with resident committees.
So when I was at Astor Village, which is in Wallingford, Connecticut, it's 365 independent apartments, cottages, and villas, 80 assisted living apartments, and 45 memory care. We had 18 committees, and I had to attend each one of those committees. So we had grounds committee, we had flower committee, we had a snow removal committee. We really did. Construction committee, food and beverage committee, health services, health and wellness. So the way I feel about committees is that committees, especially in a larger, you have a good sized community, are great ways for the entire resident body to be heard. Without committees, only the people that have the loudest voice or speak up get heard. The great thing about committees is that they represent certain interests, and people with those interests are on that committee or talk to that committee. So I think it's very valuable to, if I want to be successful at this position, I need to make sure that I hear what you want to respond to that. And committees are a great conduit for getting information which isn't biased. The issue when you just deal with individual residents on an issue and not a committee is that everyone's got their own thing they want. Committees tend to synthesize information and give you a more generalized and more all-encompassing view. So I do enjoy them. I'd be happy to come to all your meetings. The way it normally works is I have to be invited. I can't just barge in. I enjoy finance committees and all the other things. So I do enjoy the committees, but the transparency is what's most important. Did I answer your question, Pat?
Yeah, thank you. Sounds good.
Very good. Good question.
I put a suit and tie on for this. You gotta work with me here. You gotta give me some questions.
Can you hear me?
Grant?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what are your hobbies?
I'm sorry, repeat?
What are your hobbies?
Oh, my hobbies? Well, I'm poor because I own a sailboat. So I have a 30-foot CNC, which is it's a 1972 CNC that I restored. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to bring that out. I'm gonna sell it and buy a boat out here. So I'm hoping to get a like a 35-foot boat that I can restore. So I like doing that. If I can afford it after the boat, I like to ski, and hiking is a big, hiking or walking or whatever is a big deal, and I like it. That's one of the things about Northern California. I did work in Cupertino years back, and the best thing I'd like to do every single day was walk Rancho San Antonio, and especially the PG&E Trail. I absolutely adored that. I told Debbie and Flo I got lost up there once on a Saturday, and I think I was on 18 or 19 miles. I never thought I'd get home alive. I took a wrong turn, but those are my hobbies. And paying for my kids' education, that's a big hobby.
We can all relate to that.
Is that a sailboat or a fishing boat?
It's a sailboat. CNC's it's a sailboat. It's if you know anything, it was fiberglass boat but without a core. Real heavy, what's called a stiff boat, heavy boat. So it works best in 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, not winds. So I want a heavy boat because you got good winds in the Bay Area. But that's why I'm poor.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer. Any question is welcome.
Nope.
Well, can I ask a couple questions?
Have at it.
Go ahead.
So, I'm looking, what do you want out of your executive director? What do you feel is most important in my position? Because I know what I need to do, but I need to find out what you want the relationship to be, and what you as a group are seeking from this position. So
I would say accessibility, being available to residents, either by email or chat or however, is very important. And I like your attending committees. I think that's important too, to hear what people are saying in their committee meetings.
Peter, can I weigh in?
go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to get to know the community, one of the best things for committees is they've all got published minutes. They're available, and I'm sure either committee chairs or resident council president can point you at them, but that will give you a recent look at what the committees have been doing. The other thing, to know people as individuals, there are biographic sketches in the library. So both of those sources are readily available.
And that's great to know. It's great having a biography and knowing your interests. But the one thing I will say is I like emails. Emails sometimes can be somewhat impersonal. I'm happy to answer emails. I encourage, if somebody has any type of issue, has any kind of immediacy, to text me immediately. Where a phone call sometimes if you're in meetings, you can't get back to people, where if you're sitting in a meeting or you're working, you get a text, you can respond immediately. But I think what's most important, as Paul said, is get to know the residents individually. I mean, I just met Flo and some of the other committee members, and you want to be able to develop a relationship quite quickly where you feel comfortable speaking to one another. So, and you feel comfortable telling me your thoughts, and that I'm approachable. I'm extremely approachable, and you can see loquacious, and I'm gonna make sure that we have a, a very good working, relationship, which is very important to me.
Good to know.
I would add to the transparency, which I really appreciate, that when we bring up an issue that we're concerned about, that you let us know what are realistic options of what could happen down the road, rather than saying, just giving us general responses, but giving us specific options of how things could play out.
Nice to see you again. Judy was part of the committee that interviewed me. The one
Yes.
thing I will say about the transparency, if I just give you lip service and I say this and this, I'm not going to have any credibility. Right now, one thing I learned, there's what's called faith and trust. Right now, you have to have faith in me. I could be the worst person in the world. I could be saying all this is just a bunch of BS. So right now, hopefully you have faith in me. I have to earn your trust. And the only way I'm going to gain your trust is by, when you ask me for something, that I follow through. Because after one or two times where I'm not honest and transparent with you and I don't follow through, you're not going to have any more faith in me, and you're certainly not going to be trusting me. So trust me, I will tell you what will work and what won't work, and I will give you options. The one thing, I've done consultations and I've visited 220 CCRCs. That sounds like a lot, but it's only about 8 per year. And what I've learned is each community is different. And there's a number of things that can work in each community. So my job is not to say, we're going to do this or not. My job is to say, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. This is the reaction from this. This is the reaction from this. So everyone understands if we're going to do A, this is the reaction or possible reaction. So everyone understands the ramifications of each decision. So that's what I'm going to do. Does that answer your question, Judy?
Yes, thank you.
Grant, do you have a question? Or Angela? Sorry.
I think Angela had a question.
Angela?
Angela was raising her hand.
Yeah, but you're there first, Grant.
Go ahead.
All right. One thing I appreciated about one of our previous directors was if I pointed out something that I thought needed attention, he would say, show me. And we'd go right then to where it was I was talking about. And I'm hoping that that's something that you might adopt.
Oh, beyond, having the one thing I've learned in this role is if you don't do something immediately, it'll never get done because things pile up. So what will normally happen is if I'll meet with a resident or committee and they'll say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Immediately I will contact, or even in the middle of the meeting, I will say, okay, it's a plan issue. Bring the plant director in. Can we get this done to make sure that happens? Or show me, you have a spread out community. It's not vertical, it's horizontal. And so you're going to be able to say, well, it's this downspout that's not working, or this door's not working. So, and then I need to address it immediately. So yes. The one thing I will add though is I will address something immediately. I try to do as much follow-up to make sure things work, but don't hesitate to say, oh, by the way, I mentioned that, it's still not done, because I'm going to try to follow up on every little thing. Sometimes stuff might fall through the cracks. but don't hesitate to say, this is still not working, so I can follow up.
Thank you.
This is Linda Sampson. One thing that we have experienced in the past is executive directors who start micromanaging and who get themselves involved, engaged, and somehow being accountable for executing really detailed, things that maybe their staff members should be doing rather than holding the staff members accountable for getting things done. And I'd like to know how you walk that balance between being engaged and keeping your staff members accountable for the things they're supposed to be doing.
It's going to be kind of a longer answer, so I apologize in advance. In general, people don't like to be told what to do. So what you need to do, my job is to create, again, positive work environment, positive living environment, but also set very high standards and very high expectations. And then you would go to the directors and say, these are my expectations, this is what is needed, and then let them come up with a way. And then filter that down. Nobody likes to be micromanaged, and I will not micromanage anyone. One of the things I learned early on was, this is your business. If it's the plant director, okay, the grounds are yours and the building's yours. This is what I need you to do. Then my job is to make sure that I support them. Do you have the tools? Do you have the right situation? I use stupid car analogies. If marketing is selling a Mercedes, our marketing director, I can see her, hello. We need to make sure that we have the tools and the talent and the oversight to build a Mercedes. That's my job. But I believe in individual responsibility and individual accountability, but I do not micromanage ever. And when something goes wrong, we don't have what I call flashpoint management. Things are going to go wrong and we're going to learn from that. So what we want to do is make sure that when something goes wrong, let's get to the root cause of it. What are we going to do system-wise or equipment-wise that it doesn't happen again? But, never raise your voice. Don't become emotional. That's how I manage. That's how I'm going to work, but never micromanage. I'm the opposite of a micromanager, but I do have incredibly high standards as far as cleanliness and hospitality and general interaction, making sure that we follow up and do our job. I believe in immediacy. That came from being in the restaurant business. In the restaurant business, you can't say I'm going to do something in 2 weeks. You do something immediately. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. So that's the only thing I would say is an overlay. We're going to get things done quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
What else would you like to see in your executive director? Or with, one of the things that I try to do is meet with residents. There's a fine line, like sometimes I will sit and have dinner and lunch or whatever with residents in the dining room. One of the things that I don't like, I would say, is I don't like the staff waiting on me like I'm different. So I'd like to sit with residents and enjoy food and enjoy time with them. But I also don't like workers feeling they have to wait on me. So I want to be able to spend time with residents and be with residents and get to know the residents, but also, a lot of communities say, oh, why don't you come to dinner every single night? And I feel a little uncomfortable doing that all the time because I'm a worker just like they are. I'm a partner. I'm with them, and I don't want to seem different, but I do want to spend a lot of time with residents. I hope you understand that.
Okay, good. Okay.
Anything else? My
Nope.
fingerprints came back, so I get to come into the community on Monday. The one thing I will say is on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, I have 10-hour classes to get my administrator's license. So you will see me later on Tuesday and Wednesday. or whatever, but I will, I will be around. The one
I
thing,
see.
and I have to work this out with Debbie, is my goal, I believe in, I'm not a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 kind of guy. I've always worked at least 1 or 2 weekends a month to make sure. Here's the reason why. If systems are going to break down, guess what they break down? They break down on the weekend when the staff isn't there. So it's very important to me in the first 6 months to be there 1 or 2 weekends a month to see system breakdown or system issues so we can address them. And so I will be working varied hours, sometimes 6 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night to see things, overnight shifts and things like that. So I will be working varied hours and varied days, and I hope that's okay with the residents.
Yeah, what's not to like?
So
I see Shell has her hand up. No?
I only can see one screen right now. I got one. I can't wait to talk to you all in person.
That will be great.
I'm not a computer guy. I see Greg there. Hey, Greg. I love his TV. He's got a great TV and a great man cave.
Well, we're looking forward to having you. You can't get here soon enough and you can't get engaged fast enough. So we're looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you. Everyone's been very kind. And
We're
very
not always that way.
But you know what? I will tell you, the one thing you learn very quickly going into so many communities, what's a nice community and what's not a nice community. You can feel it. It's just the way it is. You're a nice community. You're nice people. If you weren't, I wouldn't have taken the job. I will tell you that. Life's too short to be miserable, and this is a really pleasant community with pleasant people. That's thrilled to work with. I'm going to keep saying that. I've worked for a lot of organizations, not a lot, but I've seen a lot of organizations, and working with Debbie in Human Good is really, is really something I want to be part of and finish my career, in an organization like yours. So, and don't hesitate to be critical of me. I have broad shoulders.
This
Not
group
to
won't
worry.
hold back, I promise you.
I know you won't, Flo. You already killed me in this. I'm kidding. No, everyone was really nice to me in the group meeting. I was running on fumes by the end of the day. I was tired. So anyway. Well, I really appreciate, I will give you, I hope you don't mind, Debbie, hope you don't mind I do this. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone. Anyone wants to write it down?
I'm going to have Kendall send out your email, and if you're wanting your personal cell phone to go out, I can have her add that to it too, Peter.
Sure, I'll do that. Let me just 203 707 9848. I will tell you the reason I do this. People say, don't people bother you all the time? And this is part of being transparent. Here's why. People get mad when they can't get a hold of somebody. So if I'm, out away 3 days, by the time I get back to you, you're upset, you're frustrated. Whereas if you text me or call me, you're more likely to, and I say, I'm going to work on it or whatever, at least you've been heard. And the other thing is that in a kind of weird way, if the staff knows that you get a hold of me, they're going to be always, I'm sure they're always very responsive, but it's good to know that the staff knows that I'm always available to you and I'm going to be listening to you. So, trust me, you don't get a lot of calls and you don't get a lot of texts, but what you do get is when there's an emergency or an emergency situation, it doesn't become a conflagration. It just becomes an emergency it's not 4 days later and we really have an upset resident or family member, and that's what we can't have. So don't hesitate to text or call me at any time. I don't sleep much. Trust me, I don't.
Yeah. One of our largest problems out here is the cost of living, because it is so expensive to get housing. Have you had a chance, has your wife had a chance to come and look at our housing situation?
Yes, again, so in the town we live in, the median price of a home is about $1 million. A lot of homes are, you know, $5 to $10 million. I'm poor because I have a boat and kids in college. So I would say our houses out there are about 60 to 70% the cost of what's here. The good news for us is currently we own a home 3,700 square feet on 2 acres of land. I'm not looking for a 3,700 square foot home on 2 acres of land. My wife and I want to get a 1,200 square foot house on, a quarter acre or a half acre or whatever it is. So given the downsizing and everything else, we're not overly concerned about that. The one I am overly concerned about is paying my son's tuition every month. That's a bigger problem. So, but anyway, yeah, no, it's we understand, and one thing, the cost of living in Connecticut, is about the same. Food's about the same. Gas is about the same. I'll give you, for instance, I don't know what you pay for property taxes out here, but my property tax on my home is $14,000 a year. It isn't for the faint of heart. Let's put it that way. You are more expensive. I will give you that.
Peter, this is Flo. One of the things that impressed me when we interviewed you was when you talked about how if a person in any state of care here was in trouble, and you saw that some changes were going to be needed, that you would call the family and say, look, we need to talk about this and we need to take care of this. Could you please talk about that some more?
One of the things, so in each community, you have different committees. You can call them what you want to call them. There's health and wellness, there's risk, there's things like that. And basically what you do is at every level of care, you would have a group weekly meeting. So for instance, if it's the health, let's just say the skilled nursing, or it's memory care, or it's independent living. And I'm probably using the wrong acronyms for your thing, which I need to get into. I'm sure Debbie will help me with that. I know independent living is not something I'm supposed to use, residential living. So anyway, what you would do is, let's take residential living. On this committee would be your housekeeping and your housekeeping director, your food and beverage director, the dining room manager especially, plant director, your health and wellness people, activities. And basically what you discuss is, all right, we have residents, who do you feel is at risk or is having a problem, or you're seeing something? Housekeepers really see it because they go into a resident's apartment and they can see a change when they're not taking care of themselves. The dining room sees it because we see a person that might have more confusion or is depressed or whatever, and we'll see that from the waiters. You'll see it in activities if the person is normally engaged and does not. So we have a collaborative meeting every single week, and people will say, well, Mrs. So-and-so has been wandering and we're really concerned for her. If it's not a one-time thing, because I don't want to, put fear into resident family members, but if it comes up after like 2 times, I'm going to call the family member and say, first thing, your family member's okay. I'm just calling you as a courtesy. Your mom, we're a little concerned, is being depressed, seems depressed. Is there something going on that we can help with? If not, we recommend this, this, or this. If the person is wandering, we'll say, you may want to put in evening, someone to check on her or check on themselves. So you want to have that dialogue early in the situation. So you don't wait until what I call it, there's a sentinel event where a resident who has been confused for months, is found wandering on, the main road, and that you call the resident's family and say they need memory care, and they're saying, well, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. So you have no relationship with them and no credibility. So the job as an executive director is to do exactly that, is to build a relationship with the resident and the resident's family member. So when you do have distressing news, you've already built a relationship where that is built up and it is not at a critical juncture. Now, that's not always going to be possible. There are going to be times where everyone is pretty much okay, and then there's a pretty big event, and then I have to kind of bridge that gap quickly. So I hope I answered your question, Flo.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'd like to know, how do you approach the training and education of staff members to prepare for their career advancement?
Okay. One of the things that I believe in, always came up with what's called a brigade system. It's part of if you ever worked in a restaurant, restaurants are based on a military setup, chef's the general and all that type of thing. And in a kitchen, that's where I learned from my uncles, is you always want to be training someone for the next situation, because you don't know when someone's going to go down in battle. So a dishwasher spends a little time prepping, a prep person spends a little time on the line. The waiter, if there's a situation, teach them to be a host. Now, that's okay in the restaurant, but you need to do it in every single department. And so one of the things that keeps a community strong is what we call, advanced situation placement, transition planning, transition advancement, whatever you want to call it, is to sit down with your director, and when they do their yearly review, is to talk to the worker. Where would you like to go? What would you like to be your next step? How can we train you for that? How can we teach you for that? So when there is an opening, rather than having to go to the outside, we already have someone trained from inside. And that does two things. It stops overtime, it stops agency use, but more importantly, it keeps people invested in the community because they see a way up, that I'm not always going to be a line cook. I'm very proud that over the years I've trained. So for instance, Essex Meadows, where I started, the current food and beverage director started there as a dishwasher. I've helped to train and mentor 6 or 7 directors that became executive directors or administrators. I was in food and beverage, so I don't know how many people I've trained and brought up through the ranks to be food and beverage directors or directors of nursing. So you have to have it part of it, a transition plan, but you also have to have a formalized setup where when someone does want to advance, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to put this in place and that in place. And that's something we have to build. So did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for about one more question. So does anybody have another question for Peter?
No.
Peter, do you want to make any closing statements?
Talk to them to death, but I'm sure I can. The one thing, please don't hesitate to come see me. Please don't hesitate. Don't beat around the bush. You have a problem, you have an issue. I want to hear it. Criticism is not criticism, it's information that helps me make things better. You're paying a lot of money to live there, and we have to make sure you get good value. So it's expensive and the monthly costs are expensive, but we need to make sure that you get good value. So if you're not getting the services you want, or you're not getting the food you want, or you don't feel this is right, I need to make sure that we address that. And whether we address it immediately or in the future, I need to be able to discuss that with you. So please don't hesitate to be very direct with me. I like directness. I'm always going to be pleasant back, and I'm always going to be work with you. And like I said, I'm really, thrilled to be part of the community. I want to be here for a long time. Hopefully, you'll feel the same way in 6 months. And and what you see is what you get. So that's kind of my speech.
Thank you,
You
Peter.
doing okay, Sherry?
Greg, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Thank you, Peter.
Yes, thank you.
Very much. Greg, did you want to pipe in?
You're muted, Greg. No, okay. All right, well, thank you very much. And a little rumor that might be so is I believe Peter and I will be at the community for part of Sunday. So you can look for him on Sunday and maybe engage with him a little bit at that time as well. So thank you very much for your participation. I look forward to the coming months and years with Peter as your new executive director. Great questions. I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Take care. Bye, guys. Greg, good seeing you. Bye, guys.